Here we are again, Unit 5, but Lesson 1. Beginning a new unit, we're talking about equations and inequalities, and we're starting off with a bang because we're starting off with perimeter and area. We're going to put some equations and some meat on those bones and all of that kind of stuff. Let's dive in and see what happens. So we're going to start out by looking at formulas for perimeter and area. You may know these already. A lot of like fifth grade curriculums and stuff will cover perimeter and area. Excuse me. And so you may have seen these formulas before, but let's make sure that you have them. So we're going to start with perimeter. Perimeter, right? Right. Whoa, not what I was looking for. How about this way, right? So perimeter, there's two different shapes we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a rectangle, which it has a length and a width, right? And then we're also going to talk about a triangle, which has a base and a height. And height, right? You could call this length and width as well if you wanted to. Those length, width, depth, height. Well, height is a little bit less ambiguous. A lot of those words tend to be a little bit ambiguous. They can make for some confusing conversations sometimes when you're building something. So for a rectangle, which this is, even though isn't quite. We're saying that it is, and so it is. Remember, it has two lengths and two widths, right? And so to find the, perimeter of a rectangle, what we do is we add up the lengths and the widths. So the perimeter here would be the length plus the width plus the length again, plus the width. Now, we know enough about cleaning up expressions to know that at this point, if you don't already know here, we can combine like terms, right? We can combine the two L's and the two W's together. L plus L, remember there's a hidden 1 in front of all of those variables. There's a hidden 1 in front of those. So L plus L is 2L. And W plus W is 2W. So our end formula that we're going to work with is going to be length times width. No, that's area. Sorry, I'm thinking about too many things, looking at these boxes going nutso on me. Our end formula for perimeter is 2L plus 2W, right? And then for this guy, now I'm gonna put a height on another triangle that I'm going to draw here in a minute, and I'm going to leave all these things because for perimeter we add up all of the outsides, right? So we're going to label this ABC instead. So the perimeter of a triangle is A plus B plus C, right? So that's a formula for the area of a triangle. In fact, if we do any size shape, we just add up all the sides to find perimeter, right? A lot of this is probably review, and that's totally fine. I think where we get into some potential new territory is kind of the way we're going to work problems, and we're going to do it in a more pre-algebra / algebra way, right? That's kind of what we're going for here. So let's get the formulas for area out of the way as well. Again, you might know these, and if you don't know these, then I kind of already let the cat out of the bag because I already told you accidentally told you what the formula for a rectangle is, area of a rectangle. Whoop. Trying to use my tools wisely here. All right, so we've got length and we've got width, right? So the area of a rectangle, we know it's a rectangle because we know these sides are all 90 degrees. Area of a rectangle is length times width. Easy peasy, right? Area of a triangle, in case you didn't know for some reason. This is where we need the height. We've got our base here, and then we've got our height. The height, we're going to label H. Area of a triangle is 1/2 of the base times the height. Again, these are probably review. You probably know these, and that's totally fine. Let's dive into some problems. I wanted to make sure this was included in case it is new for whatever reason, right? And so let's do some problems using these. Okay, so we're going to start with example 1, and we're going to find the perimeter. The perimeter. Okay, and we're going to do a triangle that looks like this. And it has side length of 28.5, 28.5 centimeters. And then another one that is 12.8 centimeters. And then a final one that is 17 centimeters. Okay. So in the perimeter, we add up all those sides, right? No problemo. So the perimeter would be, my goodness, sorry, getting choked up all of a sudden for some reason. Take a drink real quick. All right. Is 28.5 plus 12.8 plus 17. Okay. So when we add all of those up, and we add them all up, you may want to scratch paper that, right? So when you add all those up, you end up with 58.3. And we got to put units on there because we were given units. So centimeters. That's no big deal, right? I think we should do another example. This one is going to be a little bit different, differenter. And this next problem, that first problem, that one's easy, right? That one's still probably review. This next one might be less review. This next one might be new. This next one is kind of, we got to think about it in some algebra. So here's the problem. It says the perimeter of a rectangle is 42 feet. Its width is 10 feet. And now we need to find the length. So this time, instead of being given the length and the width, we're given the area, the perimeter, and we're given the width. And so we got to find the length. So let's start by writing down our formula. So the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle is 2L plus 2W. And we are given, this can be this idea of writing down our variables, writing down our givens over here can be very, very useful, and it can help us even if we go all the way to like chemistry and physics and all these things. If we gather our givens with units, it can be helpful, right? Perimeter is 42 feet, and the width is 10 feet, and our unknown is our length. Right? So now all we have to do is we have to take and substitute these givens into the formula that we have. When you're doing this, I'm going to start preaching this now early, right? This is probably like 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Hey, somewhere in there when you're taking this class, probably, excuse me. And because of that, I'm gonna get this little preach in early and often. If you do this, now this one's easy, right? Because we're only given one formula to work with, and so we know what's happening. But later, if you get to like physics or chemistry or something where there's a dozen formulas and all kinds of stuff, what we do to figure out which formula to use is we follow those units. Okay, and so we figure out what units they are and figure out what variables go with those units and then find the formula with those variables. So these are the variables that we're given, PWL, perimeter width length, and this is the formula that's got those in it, right? Again, this one is fairly straightforward because we only have one option, but start planting that in your brain early. So we're going to put a 42 right here, right? And then we're going to put a 2L. The L is going to stay an L because it's our unknown, right? Plus 2 times our width, which is 10. So now we've got a little equation and we can solve that, right? So we're going to start out by doing 2 times 10. So what is 2 times 10? It's 20. Bring down our plus, and 2L equals 42. So how is that 20 attached to the L? Gosh, something tickling my throat today. How is that 20 attached to the L? It is added, so we're going to subtract to get rid of it. And then 42 minus 20 is 22 equals 2L. That 2 is attached to the L through multiplication, so we're going to divide to get rid of it. Those cancel, and then we are left with L equals 11. Now remember, we got to put our units, so 11 feet. That's not too bad. Maybe a little different than what we're used to seeing. So let's do a word problem, and then we're going to be done. Let me pull that off, pull this in, pull that in. Tyler has enough blue paint to cover 800 square inches. Since we're doing square inches, we know we're going to be talking about area. Follow the units. He wants to paint a rectangle stripe on his bedroom wall that is 120 inches long. Find the width of the section he can paint. Now, another strategy for solving word problems can be useful is if the problem describes a picture but doesn't give you one, draw the picture. It'll help. Okay, so what we are told is that we've got a wall here, right? Got a big old wall that's 120 inches long. And he wants to paint a blue stripe, right? So he wants to paint this blue stripe on the wall in here. So he wants to paint all that. And we know that he can cover 800 square inches. Now, so 800 square inches, and we're trying to figure out what, I already said this, but to reiterate, because this is square inches, so inches squared, we know that this is area because that's area units, because area is inches times inches, right? Or feet times feet or whatever else. And so it's squared distance units. And so that's how we know that this is area, right? And so we're using the area formula, and the area formula is length times width, L times W. So we know that L equals 120, and we know that A equals 800. And so we're just going to substitute and plug those in and then solve for the missing one, just like the last one, except it's even easier. Okay, so this is 800 equals 120 W. So now we're going to solve for W. How is that 120 attached to the W? Well, it's multiplied. So how are we going to get rid of it? We're going to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 120. The 120s cancel, leaving us with W equals, and then 800 divided by 120 is 6 2/3. What's our units? Inches. So that's how wide of a strip that he can paint. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, easy as pie. Not cake. We don't like cake around here. Have a good day. If you're one of my students, see you in class, all the things. If you're not one of my students, thanks for joining us. This entire course, the lectures at least, is available for free here on YouTube. Don't forget to like and comment down below what we can help you with in your math journey, your science journey, or general homeschooling questions. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.